Hello everyone. So in this video we'll see how logging works in Spring Boot application. So as you can see, all the logs that you are seeing, they are displayed or they are printed in a particular format. First there is the date, then the priority, process ID, application name, then the package on which uh, that particular log is message is coming from, and then the actual message, right? So in Spring Boot and also the logs that we have added. So as you can see here, request received. So this is getting printed in this format. As you can see here, IAD, this basically means this is our group name. Like I is in, A is a designer, D is for demo. Then the package we have here is interceptor and request log interceptor, right? And then our message. So this is the default messaging that we get. Now to modify this output, what we can do is, and there are multiple reasons to modify this. So for example, if you want to add correlation ID in every logs that you are getting, now rather than passing all those variable manually, what you can do is you can use this library slf4j and modify its output so that once you set the correlation ID in a context, then that will automatically be printed in your console. So you don't have to manually add correlation ID everywhere. So first let us see how we can modify this output, and then we'll also see how you can add the correlation ID in every request. Okay, so let's go ahead. To start with the modification, what we'll have to do is we'll have to come inside this folder src main resource, and there you can see application.properties. It could either be application.properties or application.yaml, anything, right? Now here you have to add your pattern on which you want the logging to happen, for example, and the key for that pattern is this. And after this, if you just want to print message, let's say you don't want all of these details to be printed, you just want message itself. So what you can do is just print the message, right? And once we run this, now as you can see, now we are just printing the message, and there is no new line character as well. Everything is getting concatenated in our console log. So to add the new line, you can use %n. So now you can see, now we are getting all the messages in a new line. And even if we'll go to our API, right? Let me open the browser, and if I refresh, as you can see, you are able to see only the logs, message, nothing else. Now only log messages. This is how you can just print the log message, but this is not very useful once you are debugging. So you would definitely need date as well when this particular log has been added. So for that you can add %d and space hyphen colon, anything you want to add as a separator, you can do that. So now let's run this again. Now you can see you are getting your date as well, right? Now to add the log level as well, like whether you have logged your particular message at log level, info level, right? So level basically means, if we'll go to this interceptor, so here this is a log level. So we have around 7 log levels. So I'll go here. So we have info, debug, right? You can see all the log levels that are present. We have warn. So all these different log levels are available. So if you want to print that as well, and that is also useful when you are trying to debug your application, like you may only want to filter all the error level log. So to do that, you can just print the priority, and if we'll run again, you will see, right? This is info. Let's say for we are logging this at error level, right? Run this again, go to our browser. Now you can see everything is at info level, but if I go to this URL, now this log level is coming at error level, and I can filter out from all these logs. I can filter out all the error logs and see which API is getting failed and what is the reason that we have logged here. Okay, so that's another thing. There are few other thing as well. For example, you can format the date as well. Uh, right? Maybe you just want date, minutes, hours. So like you can format this in different format by using curly braces and then providing your date format. Okay. Other details that you can add here, let's say you want to add the source, like from which class file that particular message is coming from. So for that we have logger. So if I run this again, as you can see, now our logger is getting printed, and unlike earlier, this is not in.a, like we are getting everything, but some cases this becomes quite big, as you can see, for example this one. So we have an option to trim this as well by providing here we can add like 20. Now as you can see, now everything is getting shorter and we are getting only the class name. If I'll increase this to 80, we should be getting more details, right? So that's it for this. In the next part, I will show how we can add correlation ID. So in this section, I will show how you can add correlation ID in every log message in your web request, right? So let's add another interceptor like we have done for request log. Let's create another interceptor called correlation ID interceptor, right? And like in this class, we will implement this handler interceptor. Handler interceptor. Now we just have to override, because we want to add correlation at the start of request. We can override the pre handle method, right? So now let's generate the ID. UID, random UID dot toString, right? And now what we want to do is we want to add this thing in our request. So to add any metadata in request, you can add an attribute, right? Let's call x correlation ID. So what this will do is this will allow you to access this x correlation ID in your handler here, and this is useful if you want to pass this correlation ID to some other service. For example, you have this user ID, get user by ID method, and you have an external service, a different Spring Boot application which stores the data in memcache somewhere, or maybe it is getting from some other third-party service this detail. So you can pass the correlation ID there as well, so that you can correlate all the logs that are getting in your application, right? So that's useful for uh, that purpose. Now to put this log correlation ID, so what we can do is, so there are two approaches. One is to get this UUID in your web controller here, right? And another is, and manually add that log ID in every log statement that you are printing, which is quite tedious. So what we can do is, there is another approach that you can set this UUID in MDC, right? And we will use the similar key, right? And this basically sets a context for our log. And as you can see, this MDC is coming from SLF4J itself. Now, if we'll run this, you can see we will not get the uh, correlation ID because we have not put this, like where do we want in our messaging part, right? So if I'll run this again, as you can see, there is no correlation ID printed. And even if I'll go to browser and refresh this page, here you can see there is no correlation ID getting printed. So to do that, what we'll have to do is, we'll have to come here. We have to, let's say we want to add the correlation ID after here. So to access the MDC context, you can use this format, right? Now let's run again, and let me open the web page. We are still not getting this correlation ID. That is because we have just created this interceptor, but we have not added this in Spring Boot lifecycle. So to do that, we have to just go here and correlation ID interceptor. Now if we'll run this again and open the web browser, refresh this, now you can see we are getting this log ID here. Even though if you'll see add interceptor, we have not added this correlation ID, but because we have initially set the correlation ID in this interceptor, we are still able to print this. Now if I'll go here, right, so let's create a logger. Logger factory, get logger, user controller, and let's import this log.info, request received for, right. Now let's restart this server, and if I go to browser again and refresh, now you can see this correlation ID is same between this interceptor for request logging as well as for this log as well, right? So with this we can see that request is received for this ID, belongs to this particular log as well. So both of these logs are connected. So that's it for this video.